Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to do my October reading wrap up, and in October I read 6 books, which is honestly not as many books as I have read in the past. It was really quite a slow reading month for me, but I read a couple of slightly longer books as well, and November I am all ready to pick things up and get going. So in October I started with The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. When Mouse's dad asks her to clean out her dead grandmother's house, she says yes, because how hard could it be? Unfortunately, she was a hoarder. The house is absolutely stuffed, and Mouse comes across her step-grandfather's journal. It's seemingly filled with nonsensical rants, until she begins experiencing the same things herself. This was so delightfully creepy and atmospheric, and I really enjoyed how the tension was ramped up as Mouse moved through her step-grandfather's journal. However, it felt, if you've read The Hollow Places, it's very, very similar in feeling. I loved the descriptions, the settings of the place, but the two books are very much merged in my head. And I think I may have had a better experience if I'd read this one first. I still really enjoyed it, but the two were so similar in tone to me, even though the stories were quite different. I gave this one 3 out of 5. The next book I read was Sorcery by Terry Pratchett, and this is the 5th Discworld book. There was an 8th son of an 8th son who naturally was a wizard. But then he had an 8th son, and the result was a wizard squared, a sorcerer. The Unseen University finally has the most powerful wizard ever. But unfortunately that could mean the end of wizardry is at hand. I'm really enjoying working my way through the Discworld books, and we come back to Rincewind in this one as well, back to the Unseen University. It kind of partly follows on from those stories, but is a new story in that section, if that makes sense. But we explore more of the world, we meet more characters, we have some new concepts in this, and I'm just having the most wonderful time experiencing it. I gave this 4 out of 5. The next book I read was on my Kindle, and this is Children of Fallen Gods by Carissa Broadbent. This follows on from Daughter of No Worlds, which was a semi-finalist in my group for this year's self-published fantasy blog off. I had some travelling and I wanted something to read, and since I really wanted to go back to Tisana and Max, this seemed absolutely perfect. Both books were available on Kindle Unlimited. We actually have a new point of view character introduced in this one, and we explore ancient secrets, betrayals, and have our hearts ripped out once again. This did feel a touch repetitive at times, as the same sequence of events seemed to happen. Even though this was filled with action, the forward momentum just seemed to pause every now and again. I rated this one 4 out of 5. I still love the characters and the world, and bring on book 3. I really need to know how this gets resolved. Then I read Goldilocks by Laura Lamb. Despite increasing restrictions on the freedoms of women on Earth, Valerie Black is leading the first mission to a Goldilocks planet, one that is in a zone suitable for human habitation. Naomi, who is Valerie's surrogate daughter, hopes that this mission will help her break out from Valerie's shadow. But things start going wrong on the ship, and Naomi begins to suspect that someone is hiding a terrible secret, and Earth's days may be more numbered than anyone had anticipated. This is a bit... I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It was enjoyable while I read it, but there's all these massive events going on, and the book kept telling me that I should be feeling this way, and everything just seems to lack a little bit of urgency to me, a little bit of lacking in actual feeling of danger. It all just felt a little bit detached. I did like how faster than light travel was explained, how it worked in this universe though, but I gave it a generous 3 out of 5. I didn't hate it, but I don't really have a lot of feelings about it. Then I finally finished Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I did plan to read the entire trilogy in October, but this took me longer to get through than I anticipated, and this is the reason why there was only 6 books in the end. I adore this, and do I really need to talk about the synopsis for Lord of the Rings? Anyway, I had forgotten just how beautifully written this was, and just how much richness there was to the history of every page, every event. There's just so much detail to this world, and I decided to slow down and savour it and enjoy it. And I'm going to be splitting the other books. I'm going to read one a month to the end of the year, and it's been a long time since I've read The Lord of the Rings, and I gave it 5 out of 5. And I'm just going to tell you now, this won't be appearing on my favourites list because I have read it so many times in the past that it's disqualified, I'm afraid. The final book of the month is another chunky one. Children of Fallen Gods was over 600 pages long, so this is 560 pages long. So this is Catalyst Gates by Megan E. O'Keefe, and this is the 3rd and concluding volume of the Protectorate trilogy. So I won't go too much into the synopsis at all because it would really spoil so much of what happens, but I have had so much fun reading this whole entire trilogy, and I always forget what the first book was. Velocity Weapon was one of my favourite books that I read. I think it was last year I read it, and I gave it 5 out of 5. This one I gave 4 out of 5 too, simply because we kept stalling. With the switches of points of view, I found that occasionally we were moving back in time and seeing an event that we'd already gone past from another perspective, and it just felt a little bit like it was jumping around a little bit much. Still loved this, still love the characters. I really want to do a complete read through because I just want to experience it all again. Such a highly recommended trilogy. I loved it. So those were the books that I read in October. I would love to know what you read this month. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you all soon.